This is towards a Bernie Sanders presidency. What is good about Bernie? Oh my God, let me count the ways. So, in order to get Bernie Sanders elected, we need to get serious right now. We need to build strong local Bernie brother apparatus. We got to build a strong local Bernie brother apparatus so that way we're all ready to govern concurrently on the same day that President Bernie Sanders gets into office. He gets into office, and then Bernie Brothers, who knows his platform, knows his policies, you can apply for those grants. And then also when you're talking about Bernie Sanders to other people, you can, give your best reasons. They're going to hit you with, oh, you just want free stuff. There's so much more to Bernie Sanders than just, government programs. He does want to expand funding for a lot of government programs. And people, people ask, whenever money is used to, is spent to help people, that's when they're concerned about, well, how's it going to get paid? How are you going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for killing kids on the border? How are we going to pay for killing all those Palestinian kids? How are we going to pay for, going into Venezuela and maybe killing some Venezuelan kids? I'm so sick and tired of white America killing black and brown, the people of color, brown babies with, Mexican, Palestinian, Venezuelan. But I'm so sick and tired of white America killing people of color. I'm so sick and tired of white America killing their babies, the brown babies. I'm so sick of it. So I'm going to first, what we have to do for the Bernie Brothers, we got to canvass, and we got to petition, and we got to distribute literature, we got to register voters, fight for every single vote up until all the election days of the primary are over. So this is, the election starts February, I think 3rd. There's 4 elections in February. Then there's Super Tuesday, so that's like 10 elections right there, including Colorado. So that means my vote will be relevant for the Democratic primary, and I'm excited about that. That's very good. I think actually Colorado's got caucuses, so I got to figure out this caucus thing. So that's what needs to happen, right? So we want to be ready to govern when he gets in there, and then we also want to, make sure he gets in there to do all the things. But the understanding his platform matters for a lot of reasons. If he becomes president, then we get to know exactly where he stands on this issue and that issue. So he's talking about passing the 21st Century Bill of Rights. And so I'm working on the new rights. I got a couple rights and freedoms here that I wrote down. So the right to privacy. So as Americans, we have a lot of freedoms in the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution and in our state constitutions. But we don't have, for Colorado, we don't have a right to privacy in the state. We don't have a right to privacy in the federal government. The rule of law should be established. I don't know if that's kind of a right, the right for all of us to be treated equally under the law. The right to marriage, right to find a family, to found a family, to raise your own family. Right to sue any corporation or government for injury in all the 50 states via the federal courts. That's repeal the 11th Amendment. Freedom from war and crime, freedom from unfair competition and monopolies, right to the access to information, right to one's own body, right to leisure, right to work, organize, unionize, and strike, freedom of thought, opinion, and belief, right to referendum, initiative, and recall, and right to fair elections. I would like to see those rights added on to the current rights that we have right now. So, my criticisms of Bernie Sanders. Okay, he voted to go to war with Somalia and Serbia under Bill Clinton. So he is imperialist when it comes to humanitarian causes. So he's not totally anti-war. So Bernie doesn't promote instant runoff voting. So we're not going to get a fair election for independence under a Sanders administration. That's not good. I want Bernie to talk about instant runoff voting. I want him to be more anti-war. I want him to believe in universal basic income, which gets rid of poverty. It's UBI or land reform. If we're going to be serious and actually do something to U.S. poverty, I'm not for sure if he's got a federal works program, so I think that, is going to be put in place of UBI. But UBI is good politics, it's good policies, it's smart for libertarians and it's smart for the progressives. Everybody supports UBI. Everybody supports it. Martin Luther King supported it. Milton Friedman, the conservative, Chicago boys that fucked over Chile, he believed in universal basic income. And then the last the last two criticisms of Bernie Sanders. He's not in favor of impeaching the current war criminal sitting in the Oval Office. If the American people impeached a president for war crimes, crimes against humanity, that would probably stop war for all time. But I'm not for sure why he's not for impeaching him. I don't know if he's just opposed to the tactic, or if it's just the whole Russia thing, right? I'm not totally in favor of impeaching on Russia, but God, put up some impeachment charges. See what happens, right? They're going to impeach over a blowjob, then, you know, these assholes have done worse than blowjobs. Bernie Sanders is also for some modest gun control measures. Okay, so that's, and some progressives would like that. So those are my criticisms of Bernie Sanders. He's incredible. He's awesome. He's been fighting on the right side of history his entire life. So that's exactly what I want. When it was come to the 1960s, he was on the front lines protesting with black folks, arm to arm, forming a human chain, and then he got arrested in defense of integration, to stand up for black people and saying that black and white people, that we should be integrated and that we should have one society. We shouldn't have this, separate but equal bullshit. And that's, think about that era. So, because he was one of the few white men that was standing on the side of black folks, I guarantee he got a lot of shit. It was, usually the white, I've seen white people that was in protest and black marches, and they were the white racists particularly hated the white people that was standing with the black folks, right? It was one thing to be black, but to be a white person who supported black people, that was too much. So a lot of the anger and hatred from white racists would go to the white anti-racist. So Bernie Sanders took some shit. He got arrested. It was on videotape, so we get to see it today. But this is, true of every issue. He was fighting for women's right to choose in the 70s, and he's still fighting for it today. So he was correct in the 70s when they were, the whole Roe v. Wade thing, the debate was, at its high fever pitch. But that's, he's still fighting for the good fight today. So that's what I want. And every generation and every decade, he warned us about the Iraq War, total disaster, 1 million dead, trillions spent, still stuck there. What are we getting out of it? We got ISIS, right? So I guess we get more war. I thought ISIS was defeated. It doesn't matter. Let's just keep the war going, right? So, he warned us about the Iraq War. He warned us about the Great Recession crash coming up in 2008. So imagine if we would have listened to Bernie Sanders throughout the years. If we would have listened to Bernie Sanders, we would have been integrated a long time ago. If we listened to Bernie, then women would have had a right to choose a long time ago. If we listened to Bernie, then we wouldn't have been in the Iraq War. If we listened to Bernie, then we wouldn't have had that 2008 Great Recession where the stock market crashed, or whatever, the Bear Stearns, so about, bankrupted the world. If we would have listened to Bernie Sanders throughout all those years, we could have, saved so much hardship and grief and extra struggle. We would have got to the promised land so much quicker. So Bernie Sanders has a ton of great policies, a ton of great ideas. So the policies of Bernie Sanders that are amazing, okay? So first we'll talk about his Medicare for All program. That's his big, baby. That's his number one idea. And he wants not just free health care for everybody. He wants free college for everybody, including student debt cancellation, and he wants free child care. And I'm calling these the big three free. The big three free, programs under a Bernie Sanders administration. Health care, college, education, and child care. Free college, free health care, free child care. Universal basic income, I like that so much that I would actually sacrifice some of my social programs, but this is Bernie Sanders. He's not for universal basic income. He's for government programs. He's for, the passing checks out with Social Security. He's going to expand Social Security, but he's not for, the whole brand new program called the Universal Basic Income Program, like Andrew Yang is. And he needs to pick up UBI. So the other 16 Democratic presidential hopefuls, they're all for universal health care in some respects, but there's only 4 of them that wants to abolish the private insurance So that means I know I'm guaranteed to get universal health care with Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Bill de Blasio, and Elizabeth Warren. I know that I'll get universal health care with them. The other 16, they're doing the Obama, Hillary, double speak where they're saying, well, we need a mixed socialist, capitalist, Medicare for all system. So some government health care, some private insurance. And the way that they want to get there is by adding a public option onto the Obamacare exchanges. There is a good argument that says that those are actually, that it would probably work, because if you put it on the free exchange, then people can choose to buy into government health care. If they choose to buy into it, they'll like it that much more, and then it'll be popular. So I think just, probably the competition of the thing, government will probably be able to offer better, cheaper health care than all the private entities. If they don't, then that's how the private companies survive. So I think that's, actually probably the best way. But is there any doubt that the capitalists are going to get their hands on, our Medicare for all system? So I like Bernie's system. Essentially, we get this universal Medicare for all system. And with that Medicare for all system, we could use that as leverage to negotiate much cheaper prescription drug prices. So there's a lot of benefits to saying everybody's part of this Medicare for all system. With the whole choosing to buy into the system, well, the Democrats are saying that immigrants, illegal immigrants, can get on health care too. So that means the poor people that would probably benefit most from public health care, they are supposed to join into this voluntarily in order to pay for, illegal immigrants. That's fattening, that's making it, bigger without putting more people to pay into the thing. So they're, going to force the people that voluntarily choose to get a universal health care. Those are the people that's all, all the expenses on the public government health care would fall upon the taxpayer of those who actually choose to do it. So we're going to have a smaller pool, and then we're going to have more people that join into it. So I could see the pros and cons of both. Ultimately, I want to know, are you being serious? Are you going to give us fucking universal health care, you fucking pricks? For Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Bill de Blasio, and Elizabeth Warren, I know we're going to get universal health care. With these other guys, they'll talk a good game, but if you're rushing out to defend whatever the profits, billions of dollars of profits for the insurance companies, I don't know. I mean, they'll definitely get their greedy hands on the system. Don't worry about that. They'll be all right. They got plenty of money, deep pockets, lots of lawyers, lots of friends in high places. So there seems to be, for me, it's, anyways, okay, so that's Medicare for all. And then Medicare for all, he's actually going to cover like a whole bunch of stuff. He's going to cover long-term care and, the checkups, eye exams. It's going to cover, it's Medicare for everybody. So it's very comprehensive, and it's literally universal. And so is his child care plan, and so is his college plan. So Bernie Sanders is really going to make Americans American. If you're an American, you get to go to the hospital if you're sick, and you get to be taken care of. Not for free, but you're not billed right then and there. You walk in, you get taken care of, you walk out, no bills whatsoever. So that's exactly how it should be. If a person cares about the people, they care about their brains, their bodies, their spirit. So, I don't know what you can do about spirituality, but you could, talk about nature or something. Talk about science and math. Math is the language of God, so there you go. But for body and mind, well, you need a strong, healthy body to be a good worker. This is good for businesses. Right now, businesses are forced to provide health insurance. If there was a health care government program, a universal government program, single payer, then that means the businesses wouldn't have to provide the health insurance. It would be up to the government to do so. So this helps businesses, it helps individuals, it helps everybody. And he's also universal college. He includes the wealthy. So to be an American means you get to go to college if you want to further your education, to get yourself more skills so you can be more valuable, more useful to society. If you want, healthy children, if you want a healthy population, then the big three free healthcare, free college, free childcare, these are very common sense programs. And so, these are the ones that he's talking about. So I would say that those would take priority over the rest of them. He talks about cutting taxes sometimes for the middle class. So, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we definitely need to make sure that we don't overspend. That's for sure. So maybe we could have somebody in there that makes sure that... But anyways, his free college for all plan is better. He includes rich people, so even the rich kids get free college, which would help, right? Universal basic income, $10,000 bucks, that'll help. You could, buy a boat or something. So now they could buy, college is free. They could buy another boat. So this makes it universal. Programs that are universal, they're easy to understand, and they're more popular, and therefore for their longevity, they are better. Social Security, very, old people and disabled people get taken care of. Boom, there's the program. Most popular program in U.S. history. Now, compared to Elizabeth Warren, she's going to forgive 75% of all debt. She believes in the three big free, but her ways are a little bit different when it comes to, her college plan. Her and Bernie will both abolish private insurance, but when it comes to college, she only wants to forgive 75% of all the debt, and whereas Bernie wants to forgive all the debt. So 25% of all Americans, including me, that have student debt, will not be forgiven under an Elizabeth Warren administration. Elizabeth Warren don't do shit for me. Bernie Sanders does. Ilhan Omar does. The Jew and the Muslim. The Jew and the Muslim. That's who is the only person that has any sense of right and wrong. Nobody has a moral conscience in Christian America. Jesus Christ. I mean, health is life. Tulsi said she's going to pay for her free college for all plan by adding a tax on stock trading. Both Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Buttigieg said that free college will be provided for families making under $125,000 a year. So for both Elizabeth Warren and for Tulsi and for Mayor Pete, all of them are for not universal college, not universal education. They're going to have means tested. We got to find out who's making $125,000, who's not making $125,000, who's got $50,000 worth of debt, who's got more than $50,000 worth of debt. So that's going to increase the bureaucracy. They're saying that like they're going to save some money, and then it takes the universalness out of the equation. I don't particularly care for the wealthy people, so I feel Tulsi and Pete on this. But if the wealthy, I don't particularly care, but I don't particularly not care. So I could see both of those being okay. Bernie Sanders is actually, includes the wealthy. I thought he wanted to soak the rich and eat the rich, and here he's saying that the kids of the wealthy, they get free child care, free college, and free health care too. So, those programs that are more simple, more precise, they're understood by all immediately, and that adds to their overall longevity appeal. 45 million Americans are saddled with student loan debt, collectively totaling over $2 trillion. So the next big bubble that's going to burst and sink this economy is going to be the student loan debt bubble. So 45 million Americans are drowning. $2 trillion are going to be canceled, no questions asked. They're just going to hit the delete button. So just think of Fight Club when they took down all the credit card companies. Instead of actually having to, destroy property, destroy their buildings, all you have to do is just hit delete. The American government is going to pay for the private insurance and the public, or the private and public loans. So both the private institutions and the public institutions. So, okay, good. He's going to save our economy when it comes to college. So, I prefer universal basic income, but we're doing this piecemeal stuff. Okay, let's see if all these pieces actually take care of everybody. We got universal health care. We're getting universal education, universal child care. When it comes to college, he's going to cap student loan interest rates at 1.88%, triple funding for the work-study program, and increase Pell Grants, invest in historically black colleges. Bernie points out that 46% of all the new wealth that's created in America goes to the top 1%, while regular Americans are having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Bernie will break up major corporations and the big banks, cap their interest rates to prevent usury. Bernie is calling for a much-needed 21st century Bill of Rights. Bernie wants to add banking services, checking and savings account, issuing debit cards, etc. to local post offices so the citizens aren't dependent on predatory banks and payday lenders to cash their checks. These are, the level you submit to is the level of injustice that will be perpetuated upon you. So you need to get a debit card, you need a checking account. Well, that bank wants to know every fucking thing about you. And they want to know, your eye scan, retina, retina scan, your fingerprints. They want a cavity search. They really want to get to know you. So just for a fucking checking account, just for a debit card, in order to exist in modern America, you need these things. Bernie Sanders will pass the Workplace Democracy Act, the Corporate Tax Dodging Prevention Act, the Inclusive Prosperity Act for the 99.8% Act, the Social Security Caregiver Credit Act. Bernie Sanders isn't afraid to confront the military-industrial complex plus the prison-industrial complex. Bernie Sanders will oppose all the industrial complexes. Bernie Sanders will institute guaranteed vacation, sick, family, and medical leave, 12 weeks of it. Bernie will institute a federal jobs program guaranteeing a job for every American who wants one. Bernie will turn Election Day into a national holiday, which is long overdue. Bernie will pass a new Green Deal, protect the dreamers, offer a pathway to citizenship for most of the non-citizens living in this country today to become legal citizens. Bernie will fix the damage done in Puerto Rico by Hurricanes Irma and Maria, negotiate free and fair trade agreements. Bernie will add independent oversight over the Department of Homeland Security and increase spending for Social Security and public schools. He's also called for an end to the war on drugs as well as the legalization of marijuana. So, you give me all those things, okay, I can, get rid of my assault rifles or what have you. But I do worry, people are saying he's like communist, so Stalin, he's going to have all the gulags, these farm collectives, and so, I think, humans are capable of being, as good or as evil as other humans, and so, we should, Bernie is good, he's a good man, but just to assume he's going to be a benevolent ruler, absolute power corrupts absolutely, so power changes a lot of people. So I think you have to keep on Bernie to make sure he at least keeps to his word. I believe he will. I believe he'll be better than most. But we always got to keep that pressure on, right? So he's going to protect Social Security. He's going to protect public schools. Old people are still going to get their checks. Disabled public schools, teachers are going to get more pay. He's going to take care of the farmers. He's got so many programs, it's not even funny when it comes to the farmers. The war on drugs is, bullshit. It just, everywhere the war on drugs has been implemented, it's failed. Everywhere the alternatives have been implemented, it's succeeded. So therefore, we should only do that which has succeeded and, scrap the shit that's failed. So he's rejecting it. So you only got Mike Gravel, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bernie Sanders who's going to end the war on drugs. All the rest of these, Democratic hopefuls are not going to end the war on drugs. And then Mike Gravel, I don't know what's going on with his campaign. So essentially you only got, Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard who's going to end the war on drugs. So who's going to legalize marijuana? Definitely Bernie Sanders, definitely Tulsi Gabbard. Will Kamala Harris legalize marijuana? She says, so now she's for the legalization of marijuana, but as prosecutor and attorney general, she wasn't in favor of legalizing marijuana. El Chapo, he became rich. Now that he's gone, there's going to be another El Chapo. Someone who's going to fill El Chapos, and we're going to keep on getting more and more El Chapos. MS-13 makes their money off of drugs. Mexican cartels, they make bank off the war on drugs. You want to be serious about the immigration, the humanitarian crisis on the border? End the war on drugs if you're serious. Bernie Sanders wants to break up Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, other major corporate conglomerates. But this is also shared by Elizabeth Warren. This initially was an Elizabeth Warren idea with the tech companies. Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Gravel all agree on breaking up Apple, Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Bernie Sanders, he's, doing his thing. He's joining a caravan, marching up to Canada to protest expensive prescription drugs. Bernie is making strong policy speeches here and there, and he's clearly a force to be reckoned with at the Democratic debates. Bernie Sanders is a beast, and the least we can do is champion the old man as he treks across the United States doing his thing. Bernie Sanders is right on a multitude of issues. He's been right on every single major issue for every decade for the last 70 years. Bernie championed women's rights to choice. He's still doing that today. Marched with MLK. He, basically got manhandled because he was for integration. He still fights for racial justice today. He warned us about Iraq and the Great Recession. How much damage could we have prevented? Bernie Sanders is nearly ideologically pure like Mike Gravel, but he's got a twinge of career politicianism in him, peppered in, which is both good and bad. He knows the ropes, he knows how things work, but he also knows, the game, how it's an illusion. And So his purity when he was younger has, kind of dwindled down, and which, of course it would. Bernie has been fighting the good fight for 70 years. So that has to be frustrating, right? To talk about universal health care for 70 years, and finally, now that he's in the winter of his life, he might actually get to see one of his great ideas come to fruition. So nothing less than a Bernie Sanders will do. I want a president who's shown moral courage his entire life. He's been right on every major issue that has confronted America for decades. To be right when the time calls for it. Joe Biden has been wrong when the time he voted for the Iraq War. He was against the students. He was for, so every time there was something progressive, when it comes to busing, he didn't want to integrate by busing. He didn't want integration to be forced on people. He just wanted the, civil rights, the 1954 decision just to, just take over, and then people just get a good conscience on their own. So he's opposed to integration in America. So I'm sure he's able to get lots of, score lots of points after he went ahead and said that, busing, he didn't want to do busing. So, Hillary, she was a Goldwater girl when he was marching with Martin Luther King Jr. So when Bernie Sanders was taking the heat, taking the shit for standing up for what was right and people weren't ready for it, he's been doing that every decade for every major issue, and he's been right on every single one of them. That is, incredible. And then to, be like, well, what's, that's the, people criticize him for being boring because he says the same stuff. Oh, he's just saying the same stuff over and over again. Yeah, because we have the same problems over and over again. Poverty still needs to be fixed, health care, all that. So war, give me a break. So, yeah, he's boring, but he's been amazingly consistent, and so we know what we got in a Bernie Sanders. At the very worst, we have a benevolent dictator that would actually truly give a shit about the people. At the very best, we'll have the greatest fucking president we've ever had, and we'll keep re-electing him until he dies, like FDR. FDR was very popular. The American people loved FDR. And Bernie Sanders, I think, will be one of the best presidents we've ever fucking had. That's the reason why we should vote for Bernie Sanders, because he'd be one of the best fucking presidents we've ever had. So, that's why, let's fight towards the Bernie Sanders presidency. Bernie's already my president. I've lost complete confidence in this government, and I have complete confidence in Bernie Sanders as the candidate, the citizen, the senator from Vermont right now. So, yeah. Vote for Bernie Sanders. Come February 2020. In the meantime, talk about Bernie. Learn about Bernie. He's got all of his ideas on his website in black and white. Go read it. It's right there. There's no secrets when it comes to Bernie Sanders. He also talks about how he's going to pay for all the programs. So if you're like, oh, well, how's he going to pay for throwing the kids in the... How's he going to pay for war in Venezuela? How's he going to pay for the war in Venezuela? How's he going to pay for all this poverty? How's he going to pay for the $22 trillion debt? Oh, that's right. That's Donald Trump. Oh, okay. We're spending a shit ton of money on fucking shit we don't need. Fantastic. How's he going to pay for it? Oh, he's just going to bankrupt the country, just run the debt up, fuck over our children and grandchildren, put the debt on future generations, saddle our future generations with all his fucking mistakes. Yeah, he declared bankruptcy 4 times. I don't think it's that far of a long shot to think that he might be thinking about declaring bankruptcy for America. And the way you declare bankruptcy is you say, okay, I owe way more than what I have, so here's what I have, and then all your creditors, divide everything that you have equally. You're allowed to keep just your basic things that you need to live. So that's what's going to happen to America and China, right? He's just going to give in to China and just declare bankruptcy, and then China can just go ahead and take their land and their property and their money. I mean, they'll just walk in. I guess they'll take the Statue of Liberty. We owe them, billions, maybe trillions of dollars. So, yeah, anyways. Fuck Trump. Vote for Bernie. Peace.